I'm in this awkward mix of emotions right now. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that I'm in the midst of that. If you hear sound in the background, non sequitur, if you hear sound in the background, that's me getting ready to cook myself something to eat. But today, I got a voicemail. Oh, come on, you. You know you can't be having that. That's not good for you. Down you go. You're gonna have to go over here for now. There you go. Do you want to go too, Numa? Okay. I'll let you guys back out as soon as the coast is clear. Refill your water, too. Okay. But, today, while I was at work, I received I missed a call. And I received a voicemail. I received a voicemail that told me that Kilua's remains are ready for pickup at your earliest convenience. That was the gist of it. This is the pet hospital. Just want to let you know that Kilua's remains are ready. His cremated remains are ready, and you can pick it up at your earliest convenience. And even before that, I was thinking to myself today, same as I thought with... There you go, Ken. Water refill. Same as I thought with Gon. Just... This stinks. This stinks, doesn't it? Having to... I thought about it today when I came back home from work, and I looked at the kittens, and then I imagined myself petting Kilua and having him near me. And the other day I picked up the box that Gon's ashes are in, and I set it next to me. And then I got up, went to use the restroom, came back, and just saw that box sitting there, and it dawned on me that physically that's Gon right there. That's as close as he'll be to me. And a week ago, Kilua was sitting on my lap, being my little baby, and tomorrow his remains will be back with me. They'll be right next to Gon's. But I was looking at the three there, Erdrick, Erdwin, and Numa, or Irdwin. Her first name is spelled with an I, not an E. Irdwin. And I was looking at them, and I was thinking to myself, like, they're so affectionate and loving, and noticeably, increasingly so ever since Kilua passed away. And they're so affectionate, and I love them so much. And I was thinking to myself, the idea of now having Kilua going forward, keeping Kilua as a memory, having to remember him instead of having him with me, having to keep the thought of him alive, having to make sure that loving impact that he had on me doesn't fade, and trying to keep a hold of it, and in some ways feeling regret every time that the memory or the feeling of him might fade, or just the idea, just like with Gon, of he was with me just a little while ago. He was with me. He was on my lap. He was walking around, and now all I can do is, receive his ashes, put it on the best thing that I have in this little place, which is a little shelf where my computer monitor is. It's a monitor that doesn't get used, so I'm not having to move it. It's safe there. It's not going to get damaged. But, physically present Killua and Gon will be physically, what's left of their bodies is ashes and boxes, and they'll be up on a shelf. And I was thinking to myself, like, will I ever want pets again? Will I ever just the thought of other cats, and the idea of Gon and Killua becoming almost like an example or just an experience, they become less personal and they become more like, oh yeah, those are my first two cats, and that I miss Gon. I really do. I miss Gon and I miss Killua. And I think about those memories of having them with me and all the little habits and the things that they did, and it hurts, It hurts. But at the same time, I feel incredibly healthy. Now, I don't know if I'm at max health. I don't know where I am. I have nothing to compare it to. All I know is I feel really good. I feel like physically, mentally. Part of me is worried of a time where, I won't feel like this, but something's going on, something's changing, and I don't know what it is. It's not external, it's not financial, it's not situational, but it's internal. Something in me. I'm still dreading the future, I still don't know what's going to happen. I still don't know what's coming. I still don't know what's ahead of me, or what's forward, or what'll be, what's going to happen. I have no idea. I have no idea at all where things are going to go and how things are going to look up, or how things will turn out. How, why, when, where. I still don't know the answers to these questions, and that is hanging over my head every day. I'm still nervous. I'm still scared. I'll take that kind of security where at least I know I'm stably in one place. It's like I mentioned before, I'm at negative when it would be nice to be at zero. I'm at negative for the fact that, I'm still not financially independent. I could lose this place, things are shaky, but if I could reach zero, I would be able to just like pay stuff and live here, just pay stuff and live here, and just be content to subsist. I wouldn't have to go up, but I'm not down. I'm nice and even. I dream of those kinds of days and things, and people talk about when they just buy a home. They're not trying to necessarily make it big, but they're not going to go anywhere. They have a home, they can support things, and it's like right where they are. You don't necessarily need to have a future. Right now, with the way things are, they can slip. That's the scary part, is that things can easily slip away. Uncertainty, things can get pulled out from under right now for me, and when I think about that, I'm like, well, that in a way is creating a future, but it's a future in the negative. A future in the zero is just subsistence, going on as you have been. A future in the positive is a future in the neutral. It's like you're not necessarily trying to go anywhere, but you're able to be where you are. And a future more in the positive is, your things are looking up, opportunity, advancement, enrichment, And then negative is a potential future where things can just slip away, or, there's threat or things like that. And but, despite being in the negative, I'm closer to the positive now. And despite being in the negative, I don't feel necessarily pessimistic. I still get worried. That's why I still that's why I'm still talking about it. That's why, I'm still here with these journals. Not that the journals are only for negative things, they can also be for many positive things. And they have been for many positive things. But that's why these kinds of journals, are still around, because I still get nervous. I still get scared. I still get worried about these kinds of things. But despite that, in it, I still feel pretty good. Just energy wise, and alertness, and my connection with my environment, my relationship with what I'm doing, my ability to plan. I feel better. I feel more aware. I feel more able to find a way able to find a way to function, able to find a way to subsist, able to find, thinking cognitively and less hazy. It's interesting. But I know I'm not at the max. I know I'm not the best I could be. I know this is also a kind of thing where there really isn't mastery, that there's maintenance. It's an ongoing thing, you're never really going to reach the high, and you create those habits to help carry you through the lows. And I know I'm not the best I could be at the moment. I know I'm not, this isn't the final me, but for where it is, it's not bad. It's really not bad. Yeah. And even last night, I just this is how much healthier I feel. I took some rest. I haven't been necessarily stressing over perfection or trying to get things right all the time or anything. So I rested, and I even suddenly just had inspiration to fix that thumbnail that I wasn't too into for part 5 of Metroid Prime Remastered. It just came to me. I made it. I made the original one. I didn't really like it. I mentioned that yesterday. I wasn't really into it, and I just let it go. It wasn't worth it. Keep it low pressure. Just make boop boop boop. It's it's not going to be my favorite one, but you know what? We'll get it next time. I'm going to end up making more thumbnails. This is not the end-all be-all of my graphic design and thumbnails and what have you. This is not going to be the end of it. I just let this be, and it's not my favorite. It's not great. I don't necessarily like it, but I'll just leave it be, and move on, and take the pointers, take the hits, take the lesson, and come back tomorrow. And and if even that one isn't my favorite one, that's also okay too. But leave it be. Leave it be. It's not always going to be the ground-changing, game-making thumbnail that I want it to be, and that's all right. Just let it go and move on to the next thing. But so I stopped. So I stopped, and I just went ahead and rested. And then all of a sudden it came to me, and I was just like, wait a minute. Oh wait. I finished all these other things. And I was just like I was ahead of schedule, so to speak, and I was just like, well, actually, I have time now. And I have an idea. I can, do that thumbnail really quick. And then within, 10 minutes, I just went do-do-do-do-do, and then boom, there it was. And it was encouraging to see that, the willingness to let go of something doesn't mean you can never, ever go back to it, but it just means that, you don't necessarily let it stress you or waste your time But I was so pleased. It just happened in 10 minutes. I didn't have to force it. I didn't have to do anything like that. I just let it be, and then it came. If it had been forcing, I would have had to just, if it had been over anxiety over or whatever. But I just stopped thinking about it and moved on, and I was so happy. And I really like it. I really like it. You know, the point of leaving it behind is not to let it consume or become obsessive about it, but, you know, if it comes and there's something you can, like, boom, all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, that was great. That was great. I'm really happy. And I realized as well that the graphic design on those Metroid Prime Remastered thumbnails is a lot like what I already do with the journals, which is that I like to pick a specific tone or a color, or just like a general grouping of hues, and put something together in that color tone. So here, let me see. I actually have the YouTube Studio app, so I can upload things easily. So let's see. So like content, Metroid Prime Remastered. Yeah, so like the first thumbnail has that kind of faded tone to it. Faded orange, faded red, and the different people in it also have those sort of faded colors. And then the second thumbnail has all those earth tones in it, the reds, the greens. Yeah, the reds and the greens and the more earthy tones. And then the third thumbnail has like the fire, the orange, the red. It's very like bright and popping. And then the fourth thumbnail, it has the spring shoes, the bouncy shoes with the blue color and the grayish tone to match with the snow in the background. And it's like it comes together as a nice color. And then I realized, like, oh yeah, I can do purple. I can choose purple for the fifth one. The Space Pirates have that purple hue mixed with the orange, and then I mixed it with the thermal visor background, which is also purple and orange, and then it came together really nice. And even it like lines up with the triangle of the thermal visor, so it creates this nice effect. Yeah, and I was very proud of that. That's the purple one. The one before that is the blue one, and the one before that is the red/orange one. The one before that is like the earth tone greenish one, and the one before that is the sort of like faded oranges, grays, like those kinds of tones. And so I'm really pleased. I am pleased. Each one has a very distinct look to it. Each of these thumbnails, they don't blend together. They each have like a very specific look. Like a variety pack. Like you get a set of stuff, and each one has like a different theme. It's what I've talked about before. It's my favorite thing, where I talked about it with Resident Evil portraits or paintings, where it's like different paintings in the same series. I'm just, it's my favorite thing. It's like a collection of cards, something like that. I'm really glad that it worked out. And so, yeah, I was thinking to myself, I put Chibi Robo in there, and I was thinking to myself, if there's ever a time where my phone dies, or something dies, energy-wise, while I'm in the middle of recording, I'll put Chibi Robo there in the thumbnail to indicate that that battery ran out, or something like that, in that specific video. If I, upload it. Because with that, I had to upload it because, it got most of the footage. It just missed. It died 45 seconds before I looked at the screen to see if it was still recording, and it had been 45 whole seconds. Thankfully, I didn't know at the time. I thought maybe it had been like 5 minutes, and I had been playing and talking without recording, but thankfully it was only about 45 seconds when the phone died. Yeah. I know I'm all talkative right now. But, yeah. I mean, what else is there? work is going well, and I helped my friend plan for more Dungeons and Dragons. Even today, helped him answer a few questions on a few things. Me think to myself, is there any specific like journey related things? A log, a log of going on a journey with a piece of media, or something like that. Mainly just Metroid Prime, but it's nothing specifically new. I've already played the game. I've already played it before. I've played it, and so it's one of those things where you can probably just watch me playing it for my opinion on that. And let's see. Right now, my journey is the journey of figuring out money and finances and moving through things and figuring out all the different things that I want to try to do. I did a little research and tried to think of more ways to do that sort of dry erase board world building thing that I talked about the other day, and showing off Love Children. I think today I'm just going to do this journal, maybe. I'm thinking. You'll know based on what I upload. What I ultimately decide on that, but I'm thinking today's this journal. And then there's some things I gotta work on the computer. And then, I gotta eat. I'm gonna cook myself something. Stuff I gotta work on with the computer. And what else? What else? Yeah, that's basically it. I'll just be a bit busy. But if I finish early, I'll come to that. I'll come to one of those ideas and try to fulfill them. But, so, yeah. In the meantime, I think that's about it. Just thinking about the course of my day. Yeah, things went well at work. I've become very efficient at doing what I do. There was a time when there was a lot of complaining about, my different setups, but then I realized it was because they didn't actually understand what I was doing. So we were both doing the same thing. There were two different list types that we were taking, but they were doing one list type and didn't understand how my list type worked. So there were some who would get like cranky and like make up rules on the spot, or why this and that didn't work, or what have you, and then I would get confused and we would all get confused, and then someone was like, well, if you did our list type, you wouldn't make any mistakes, and then I tried their list type and it was just like a huge mess. So, what I decided the solution was? I decided, I did a whole analysis. I did a whole analysis on both list types and figured out their pros and their cons. And you know what the conclusion I came to was? The conclusion I came to was to do both. The conclusion I came to was to do both lists at the exact same time. And you know what? It has bolstered my ability to work substantially. It has. Because my mind is now on taking care of both, which means there's less times like I miss marking the list. And the other benefit is that even though there are two different methods, they have the same result. So both lists cross-reference and double-check each other. So now, when someone comes up to my area to try and, use the list and start causing complaining or problems or what have you, there are now two lists and they can't say anything anymore. Because now there are two lists to corroborate that I have been doing what I was supposed to be doing the entire time. Both the one that they do and the one that I do. So the issue is that the list that I was doing, it wasn't too friendly for their eyes. They didn't understand it. But the problem with their list is it completely falls apart under any pressure. It only works if you're the kind of person who like occasionally comes up to that area to check, and then blah 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 blah. It's easy, but it's not very good at actually keeping track of things. Whereas someone who's constantly going up there, that's a lot. It becomes a lot, their method. So I know it might seem paradoxical that doing both at the same time would help, but it really does, because the one keeps them off of me because they know how that one works. And the other one is for me now. And it helps me to keep track of everything and make sure that everything is moving smoothly and things are going where they're supposed to go and people are getting what they need. One thing is that when I go on lunch, I have to make sure to erase my version of the list or they'll get confused as to what is going on. But yeah, I call one the additive list and the other the subtractive list. And yeah, ever since I started doing both, boom, a lot of problems have been getting solved. Things have been getting a lot more efficient. They're able to read what they want out of it. I'm able to read what I want out of it. There's a lot more accountability. And things just, mainly the biggest boon of it is the cross-referencing. That's the main thing that really takes the cake when it comes to that. Yeah. So, yeah, things have been better. Things have been a lot better at work. Things are going very well. There's this one darn window. It has so much buildup. All of the other windows get clean within seconds, but for some reason this window, no matter how much you wipe it, there's like smudge left behind. It just doesn't clean right for some reason. And it's better, I've cracked away at whatever is on it, but it's still pretty meh. So I'm thinking tomorrow I'll take some lens cleaning wipes and see if that does anything to help clean it off. And if not, I'll just leave it be. But, it is a window right up front. And it is pretty garish. The door windows, they cleaned up fine. But that specific window, that's my repeated challenge. There comes a part of the day when there's less work, and that is my new goal, to see if I can defeat that window, It's fun though. It's fun. I go home and I strategize for 10 minutes, okay, that's what I'll do tomorrow, and then, I go do other things, and then I come back to it tomorrow, I'm like, oh yeah, my plan. All right, I'm gonna get you this time, and then it doesn't work, it's like a Looney Tune. Yeah. But hopefully in the morning, just in case, I put the lens wipes right here, and hopefully in the morning I'll remember to grab them and, take them with me and tackle that window. Yeah. I don't think I'm getting a raise anytime soon, though. Which is sad. That makes me sad. I'm definitely not getting any raises or anything like that. Disappointing. Very disappointing. But, I'm building up cred. I'm building up respect and things like that. I seem to be earning it. And even today, I'll keep it vague, but there was someone at job who was just having an off day, and they were a little upset, and I made sure to be as helpful, but also, stay out of the way as much as possible. And you know what? Things turned around. Things turned out really good. Back from when I was doing film directing and working on short films, when you're a director, you get used to people aiming complaints your way, and people, saying things when they're upset, and, various things like that, and knowing that, if it's your fault, do an analysis, check, double check, is this your fault, is it not your fault, is this something you could have done, or just check, is there just pressure, and this is how the person reacts. You just need to give them a second, you need to go in and maybe help alleviate a certain thing, or not necessarily do their job for them or pick up after them, but just do something to organize the organize the spot for them. Maybe not, not necessarily clean up the entire area for them, but organize what the trash is from what can still be there. There's like a jumble between, what's supposed to be here, what's garbage, what's this, what's that, and then sometimes even just going in and being like, okay, so this is this, this is that, organize the visual information, and then boop, boop, and then just maybe doing a little wiping to reduce some of the stress. Maybe. So I guess the idea is reduce the amount of actions that the person has to take. Not necessarily do the whole thing for them, but reducing the amount of steps they have to take in subtle and quiet ways. Even if it's making it so they don't have to go to they don't have to go pick a certain thing up. You have it with you. You go boo, 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 and now they won't have to worry about that. They'll just have to get the main thing. You clear out the auxiliary stuff so they can focus on the core. And what I do is if I have time, if I'm able, it's not necessarily my job what their job is, but there's some overlap where I can, if I'm not having to do my job, I can go take the time to help them assist with that, because ultimately it comes back and affects me. It's a lot like being a director. Yeah, it at some level it's your business what their business is, and there's a certain level of good selfishness, beneficial selfishness to helping, because it helps you. Help them, it helps you in certain areas. Not necessarily doing their entire job, but finding where your two sections overlap, and then once you find where those two things overlap, you can sort of help yourself a little bit by helping the others around you, and ultimately it helps you to do your job. I've talked about this before, but yeah. But anyway, I've gone on long enough for now, so I'll go ahead and stop here, hoping for the future. That is what I'll end on.